famous crimes that were solved by social media. As a result of the overwhelming number of cases that are presented to police and detectives daily, it is difficult for them to solve every single one. To our great good fortune, a significant number of people on the internet have plenty of spare time. Evidence that would have been considerably harder to obtain in the past can sometimes be found on social media platforms like Twitter and Facebook. These mysteries have been solved thanks to the combined efforts of amateur web sleuths. Number 6. The affair concerning Thankful Doe. In 1995, a young guy was discovered dead in the wreckage of an automobile that had crashed in the southern region of Virginia. His body was so badly wounded that identification was impossible, and the only pieces of identification he had were 2 concert ticket stubs for a Grateful Dead show that he had in his pocket. The law enforcement officials referred to him as Grateful Doe. When several years had passed, his skull was used to build a digital representation of his face using a computer. Members of the online forum websleuths.com disseminated his image over the entirety of the internet to discover more information about his true identity. The photograph of his face was ultimately uploaded to Facebook. Jason Callahan's family relatives quickly recognized him and sent in DNA samples to establish that he was their relative. Callahan is now 19 years old. When Jason informed his mother that he was on his way to a Grateful Dead concert, he did not specify where the show would be taking place. He had traveled a considerable distance to attend the event, as he was originally from the state of South Carolina. His mother had no notion in which jurisdiction she should make the complaint of a missing person, because she had no idea where she had last seen him. His half-sister claims that the rest of the family received the impression that he severed links with the family to embark on a new life of his own. They were unaware that he had gone missing or that he had passed away. Number 5. A hate crime is solved thanks to Twitter. In September 2014, a group of friends was walking through the center city of Philadelphia when they came across 2 gay males. They inquired as to whether or not they were a couple. When they responded in the affirmative, the group proceeded to assault and loot them. Because of the severity of the injuries he sustained, one of the victims needed to travel to the hospital to have his lips wired shut. Earlier that same evening, the group was seen on a surveillance camera, but the authorities were unable to positively identify the offenders. They appealed to anyone who might have information to come forward to assist in the investigation of this hate crime. A user on Twitter with the handle Fansons09 had perhaps in the neighborhood of 5,000 followers at the time. In the past, he had written humorous posts about several sports in Philadelphia. He decided to post a link to the surveillance video on Twitter and beg for assistance from everyone. People on the internet were able to find a group image by following a series of hints that were hidden throughout the movie. This led to the discovery of a restaurant that was the target of the assailants on the night in question. After that, they used the check-in tool on Facebook to determine who was present on the night of the crime and who was not. They were able to determine the names of the culprits in under 2 hours. Number 4. A murder was committed upon Abraham Shakespeare. A community on the internet known as web sleuths is precisely what it seems like it would be. They are a community of thousands of amateur detectives who spend their leisure time going over evidence of cold cases in the hope of solving a murder or missing persons case. Some cases have been open for an extended period. A man by the name of Abraham Shakespeare won a multi-million-dollar lottery prize in 2006. As his new financial advisor, he chose to work with a lady whose name was Dee Moore. In 2009, she put Shakespeare's body under concrete and buried it so that she could continue having control over his money. She did this so that she could keep his inheritance. Even though the authorities had reason to suspect her, they were unable to make a conviction due to a lack of sufficient evidence. He had been reported missing. The web sleuths community began taking action to seek any more information that may lead to locating Shakespeare's killer. Once it became clear that the hands of the police were tied in the investigation, because Dee Moore felt so frightened by this, she decided to create her account to distract anyone who might try to bring charges against her. Users were successful in following Moore's IP address back to her workplace. This material was given to police enforcement, and it was added to the mountain of evidence that was accumulating against Dee Moore. In the end, a verdict of guilty was rendered for her. Number 3. the victims who have not been identified. Every year, thousands of people are reported missing, and the identities of the bodies of Jane Doe and John Doe have not been determined in many cases. Due to this, many families are unable to find peace and resolution after a crime has been perpetrated against a member of their family. A page on websleuths.com referred to as the unidentified serves as one of the website's subforums. To compare the forensic drawings of missing individuals with images, members of the community spend a significant amount of time looking through public documents, yearbooks, and Facebook accounts. There have been scores of successful matches, one of which was a woman named Linda Jane Hart who vanished in the year 1988. Carl Koppelman, a moderator for WebSleuth and a forensic artist, found a match with her records in 2011. The Doe Network and the Bureau of Investigation on Reddit are just two of the many online communities that have sprung up in recent years to aid in the search for missing persons. These websites have successfully resolved more than 1,000 different issues by utilizing the power of crowdsourcing. Number 2. Bearer of Confessions. Reddit places a high priority on the investigation and resolution of crimes. If a user admits to having committed murder, it stands to reason that the user will want the case to be solved. A user with the name Narrator posted a confession bear meme with the following text: "My sister had a boyfriend who was an abusive meth addict. As he was unconscious, I administered some of his medicines to him and then I killed him. They determined that it was due to an overdose." When users questioned him about it, he responded by saying there was some truth to what he said. Almost immediately, users on Reddit began their investigation into the true identity of the narrator. They intended to report him to the authorities if he was indeed connected to a murder. In the end, he was a man 24 years old who partook in activities such as smoking drugs, playing World of Warcraft, and engaging in martial arts training. As one member on Reddit contacted his sister, the latter responded by saying that she and her brother had relocated to completely separate nations and that she had never dated a meth addict. It seems that Narado spends far too much time watching the television show Breaking Bad. Number 1. Boots the Kitten, the Puppy Dog. During the time that the mobile application Vine was still available, a young man submitted a video in which he can be seen chasing a ginger kitten off of his back porch. Even though he removed the video from his account, it was still shared on 4chan and Reddit to uncover his true identity. They eventually discovered that he was a 17-year-old boy named Walter Easley, and they filed a report with the authorities on the occurrence. Once PETA published his private details online, he started to get calls and messages threatening his life. By the way, in case you were concerned, the kitten was perfectly healthy. Yet, Animal Protective Services still removed all of the pets from the Easley home while the matter was being investigated. This was done even though the kitten was completely okay. This was particularly upsetting for Easley's mother, as her much-loved animals had been taken away as a consequence of her son's careless acts. Walter Easley admitted in court that he had never intended to hurt the cat and that the entire incident was merely a joke. He did, however, plead guilty to the charge of animal cruelty. What do you think about this video? Do let us know in the comments section below. If you enjoyed this video and want to hear from us again, be sure to hit that subscribe button before you go.